What are you shooting with?
We're shooting the sunset. We're gonna try to blend two photos, and we're actually getting out a very much nicer sunset than we got last night. Definitely has potential to be much better if I can pull off my end. We'll find out.
It's beautiful. And what are those gentlemen doing over there on the right?
I don't know what they're doing. Wasting their time with some loser hobby.
Honey. Oh my God.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Randall Rivera, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Fuji's 16 to 55 f2.8 zoom lens. I think at this point I really consider myself more of a primes shooter than a zoom lens. I think the last zoom lens that I had that I really enjoyed using a lot was Canon's 24 to 70 2.8 L lens, the Mark II version, on the 5D3. And it was a great lens, absolutely loved it for photos mostly. I didn't really do much video on the 5D3, but it was a beast of a setup, I'm gonna admit. I think I lasted on that for a few months, and I started slowly transitioning into the mirrorless world. And eventually I ended up with Fuji. While I've been with Fuji, I've stuck mostly to the primes, the f2 primes especially, or the smaller 35 1.4. I do have the 16 1.4, but for the most part, I stuck to the f2 primes. I really love those lenses. Now, I have owned the 16 to 55 2.8 for quite a while now, actually, but I haven't really used it much. I've only used it when I choose that convenience of a zoom over my small primes. I do admit I've been using it more lately, and the size and weight haven't really bothered me. Again, not on every outing. But especially when I'm using the XH1, I'm finding that I really enjoy using the 16 to 55 a lot more. And I suppose it's because of the image stabilization, so that even though it's only a 2.8 lens, with that really good image stabilization of the XH1, I am able to really use those lower shutter speeds. It's actually a camera that I've been using a lot more than the X-T3 recently, which is surprising even to me. But that's, I suppose, a whole different video. So I think I'll always prefer primes over zooms, but I really can't argue with the convenience of a zoom lens. It is the reason why I think most of us end up getting one. I've even used the 16 to 55 for a few portrait sessions lately. And yes, I did miss going, using f2 and f1.4 like I can on other lenses. But I'm going to say it really kept the flow of the portrait sessions going, and not having to switch lenses or even switch bodies, putting one down to the other. I don't have one of those dual holster things, which I probably should get, but it's just really convenient being able to go from a 16 where I'm getting a lot of the environment to a 55 where I can get a nice tight headshot, all with the twist of a ring. Now, obviously, it's not literally just a twist of a ring, right? You do have to, recompose when you're going from tight 55 to wide 16, but still, you get what I mean. It's not a lazy thing. It's not about just turning that ring and boom, you've got a whole nother shot. You still do have to move if you're doing it right. I guess you could just recompose from the body, but it's not the same thing. I don't want to sidetrack and get into that whole conversation, but it really isn't the same thing. You do have to know how to use the 16 mil side versus the 55 millimeter side. Now, depending on how you look at it, I think that limited 2.8 aperture can be a bonus. I think it teaches you actually how to use your environment a little bit better. I think often people who, like myself, I admit, who use those 1.4 primes have that tendency to just want to blur things out in the background constantly. And that's great. I love the look, and I totally get the look, the dreamy, blurred out background. It's great, people love it. But I think often we kind of default to that. If we just took the time, like sometimes a 2.8 lens makes you do, if you just took the time to look at your environment and see how you can just work that into your photo instead of just blurring everything out, I think it's often used as a kind of an easy way out, and I'm guilty of it. I have done that, and It's one of the reasons I actually started using the 16 to 55 on portrait sessions lately, is just to kind of challenge myself and use more of that environment instead of just blurring things out. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with blurring your backgrounds out. All I'm saying is it shouldn't be a crutch. I was guilty of that. When I got my first fast primes, it became where every picture was blurred out. And yes, it looks nice, but could I make an interesting photo with an f11? An interesting portrait, for example, with an f11 and a background. I'm not talking about just a plain white background or solid colored background. An environmental portrait at f11 or f8, it can be a challenge. But I think that challenge is an exercise for us as photographers, as artists, or whatever you consider yourself. I hope I haven't sidetracked too much, but I think it was a bonus to me. Yes, in a low light scene, the 2.8 doesn't feel so much like a bonus, but that's the nature of zoom lenses after all. But anyways, let's get back to the subject at hand here. The lens is one of Fuji's WR lenses, so it is weather resistant. The lens is built like a tank. It feels very solid. It's mostly metal construction. I would say if not all metal construction. It's got the rubber gasket at the back. The zoom ring, the focus ring, they both feel very nicely well made. The aperture ring clicks just right in my opinion. Really, there's nothing to really complain about on with this lens in terms of build quality. Some people may say a negative is the size and weight of it. You could say that yes, it is a heavier lens. It is a bigger lens. However, it is a 16 to 55 constant 2.8. You can't say you want that, a 24 to 70 2.8 equivalent, but then want it small and light. If you're one of those people that went to Fuji because you want to stay small and lightweight, you're probably better off looking at Fuji's very respectable kit lens, the 18 to 55. It is not a constant aperture. It's a 2.8 to f4, and it's only 2.8 for a very small part of the wider end. That might be a better option for you, and it has the optical image stabilization within the lens, so that's another advantage it has over the 16 to 55. The lens is about 1.4 pounds. If you compare that to a full frame equivalent like Canon's 24 to 70 2.8 Mark II, which is 1.8 pounds, you see there's not much of a difference. If size and weight don't matter to you, then this is a lens you're really going to like. Now on a body like the XT20 or XT30, this lens will definitely feel front heavy. On the XT2 or XT3, and I imagine like the X Pro 2, I've never had it, but I imagine they're about the same size, it still feels front heavy. If you put a grip on the XT2 or 3, it'll definitely balance things out better. But in my opinion, this lens really works so well on the XH1. I'm hoping for that XH2. I'm one of the few people I think hoping for an XH2. This is not the 16 to 55. I don't have it with me at the moment, but it balances very well, especially with the grip. This is the 18 to 35 Sigma lens. It's one of the few cameras that balance well with this lens. This is also a very heavy lens. It's a constant 1.8, 18 to 35, and that's why it's so heavy. But in any case, on the XH1, I think the 16 to 55 really does well in terms of balancing weight, and also the optical, the in-body image stabilization, like I've said before, really plays well with the 16 to 55. Now, as far as the image quality, the lens is sharp from 16 to 55. There's very little distortion. There's a little bit, but it's easy to fix. It's nothing insane at all on the wide end. Again, sharp even all the way to 55. I didn't notice any obvious signs of softness on either side. I think it's pretty evenly sharp throughout the range, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of videos comparing the 16 to 55 to the 18 to 55 kit lens. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of comments or claims being made by the people who reviewed this or compared them, saying that the 16 to 55 is only marginally better than the kit lens, and that you should go with the kit lens because it's hardly a difference, it's barely a difference. That hasn't been my experience, honestly, especially on the long end. I found that the kit lens was noticeably soft. It could be that I had a bad copy. So am I saying that the kit lens is a bad lens? Absolutely not. It is the best kit lens you can find on any system. Definitely much better than Sony's 16 to 50. I believe that's what you get on the Sony a6000 line. Better than Canon's 18 to 55 for sure. Build quality, you're not gonna find them making anything like this lens. So, and you're gonna get sharp photos, but the 16 to 55 is noticeably sharper. Now, if all you are doing is posting on social media, Instagram or Facebook, and you're only posting pictures of just for you and your friends and personal stuff and casual stuff, and I don't say that with any bad implications, I just mean if that's all you're doing, then the kit lens is going to be great. Any lens is going to be, any modern day lens is going to be great. You can, if you're only posting on social media for friends and family, then you could get some crazy, insane, like $15,000 Leica lens or whatever, and do a comparison photo with a $400 prime lens aimed at soccer moms. Nobody's going to know the difference. So again, I'm not saying that the kit lens is bad. All I'm saying is that the 16 to 55 is noticeably better. If you're a professional or an enthusiast or a hobbyist who really likes to pixel peep, you will notice the difference. If you're really looking for the best image quality possible, you will notice the difference. If that difference is worth it to you or not, because there is a price difference of a few $100s, that's for you to determine. One of my favorite lenses is Fuji's 23 f2 lens, a lens that gets criticized a lot for not being very sharp and soft, especially when you get up close. Still one of my favorite lenses for other reasons, not for its sharpness, because it isn't an especially sharp lens. I went with the 16 to 55 over the kit lens, which I did own briefly and I ended up selling it. Was for a few reasons. One was the weather resistance, which I wanted. Two was the constant f2.8. And on top of that, it has the image quality to make it worth it for me. To me, for the zoom lens, size and weight weren't a factor because I knew how and when I would be using this lens. Now, I've taken this lens on vacations, personal stuff, videos, and portrait work. Recently, like I said, I have taken it for portrait work, and I've been really enjoying it. You know, it has its time and place for me. So in any case, if you're looking for the versatility that a zoom lens has to offer, and you want the absolute best that Fuji has to offer, and you don't care about the compromise of size and weight, then I think I can absolutely recommend this lens to anybody. I have really nothing negative to say about it. The constant 2.8, the amazing build quality, the amazing images, I think it really makes it worth the price. I think Fuji is asking for a fair price for this lens. So there you are. Those are my thoughts. I think the only thing that could make this lens better would be image stabilization, although then the lens would get bigger. I don't know if I would mind too much. Honestly, I just want an XH2. They need to make that thing already because, yeah, I need to. I love using the XH2, but I definitely notice a difference in autofocus and that sort of thing. But I just really enjoy that in-body image stabilization. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on this lens. Just a quick video here. I'm going to share a few more images here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like, and if you haven't subscribed already, maybe try subscribing. And that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.